Today I'm going to talk about recommendation letter, or sometimes also known as reference letter. So what is a recommendation letter? How can you request a recommendation letter from your professors or from your employers? And in case they ask you to write a draft and send it to them so that they can finalize it and then sign it for you, how can you write a draft for your recommendation letter? When you apply for a study program or a job position, they might ask you to include one or sometimes up to 3 recommendation letters in your application. Now, before you request a recommendation letter, it's a good idea to know what kind of recommendation letter you really want. So let's say you're applying for a master's degree or for a job position, and you might have done some relevant projects in your bachelor's degree, or you might have taken some relevant study courses. Then it's a good idea to get those kind of recommendation letters because they show some relevance to this position where you're applying. Secondly, you should know if you want a generic letter or a targeted letter. A generic letter is the one which does not include the name of the university or the company where you're applying, whereas the targeted letter includes these names. Now, if you're applying to just 2 to 3 or up to 5 positions, it might be a good idea to get the targeted letters. But if you're applying to a lot of positions, then it might become hard to get a lot of targeted letters. Then it's a good idea to get some generic letters and then some targeted ones. Now that you know the kind of letters you want, you can contact the persons who are going to write these letters for you. You should contact them well in advance because they might be busy. The best thing is to contact them in person, explain why you need this letter, what kind of letter it should be, and always give them a copy of your CV in case they don't know you really well. And if you cannot visit them in person, send them a brief email and include a copy of your CV in this email. They might ask you to write a draft of the recommendation letter so that they can go through it, finalize it, and sign it for you. Now you have to write a recommendation letter for yourself. This can be a great opportunity because you can write really good things about yourself, but at the same time you should be careful. You shouldn't exaggerate a lot of qualities about yourself. So let's get started. How can you write a recommendation letter for yourself? What should be included in this letter? We will start with the introductory paragraph. In this paragraph, you should write how this person who is writing the letter for you, your referee, knows you. It could be through a project or through some coursework in university or through some internship or through some work experience. So in this paragraph, write how this person knows you and write briefly about this coursework or project or internship. Let's say you're writing a recommendation letter for a coursework. In the second paragraph, we write in-class performance. So how did you perform in the class? What kind of qualities can be mentioned here? For example, you took initiative, you were good at teamwork, you were good at communication skills, or you were just curious and you were asking a lot of questions. So these qualities can be mentioned for in-class performance. But instead of simply writing these words, it's always a good idea to highlight them through some examples. So let's say we talk about communication skills. It can be highlighted by saying that by doing this project with other classmates, this person showed really good communication skills or presentation skills. Next, we have out-of-class performance. This can be included in the second paragraph, or you can write a third paragraph. In this paragraph, you should highlight what kind of person you are outside of the class. So maybe you help others, maybe you care for a social cause, or you are a member of a student society on campus. So the person who is writing the letter, they can highlight using these examples what kind of person you are, and they can give the impression of your personality through this letter. In the last or concluding paragraph, the person writes that they recommend you for this position you're applying for without any reservations, and they feel confident that you will succeed there. They can also mention 2 to 3 personality traits, let's say summarizing the whole letter, that why these traits are directly related to the position where you're applying. When you're done writing the draft of the recommendation letter, send it to the person who is going to sign it. Also request them to sign 3 or maybe up to 5 letters because sometimes universities or companies can ask for original recommendation letters. If you're writing more than 1 recommendation letters for yourself, you should keep in mind that you should not repeat some skills or personality traits in all of these letters unless 1 or 2 of these skills or traits are really relevant to the position where you're applying. Last but not least, do not forget to thank the persons who wrote the recommendation letters for you.